Good afternoon, morning.
I was going to say they can't hear a wave, Scott.
Just waiting for you to talk.
I'm Dave. That's Scott.
You
We're
can't hear
here
me
to
waving.
discuss the greatest movie, one of the greatest movies of all time. Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest, starring Cary Grant and Ava Marie Saint. Eva Marie Saint or Ava Marie Saint? I'm never sure how to pronounce her first name.
I think they pronounced it Ava. I think it's spelled Eva. So, and it got confusing
my
because
gosh.
of her character in this as well was Eve.
I know how I think about this movie. I brought this to you. You said you brought it to me, I think, actually.
I did.
You've never seen it. So what did you think?
This has been in my queue for over a year or more. I've heard everybody bring it up as a great movie to watch as far as suspense, thriller, action. Hitchcock is known as a master of suspense, and he doesn't disappoint in that realm. Like I said, I've been waiting for a long time to watch this, and it's like, here's the deal. Let me preface this. Why I'm hesitant sometimes to watch older movies, because I'm so conditioned on the new flashy explosions and just boom, boom, boom. And I know I'm going to get a little more dialogue. So I was afraid. It's like, oh my God, is this going to be just a bunch of talking? No, it's not. I honestly love this movie. I'm just going to preface this whole thing by saying it is in my top 10. It's fucking great. Janine and I watched it last night and we were both like, holy shit, that was really fucking good.
Had Janine ever seen it before?
No. She had never seen it either. So
this is my second or third viewing of it. I've seen it a couple of times, but not a whole lot.
We both fell in love with Cary Grant. I find him an amazing, amazing fucking actor.
How can you not fall in love with Cary Grant? I'm a straight white guy of a certain age. Yeah. I fall in love with Cary Grant every time I see him. I just
think, is phenomenal.
How hard was his life to be that good looking?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing, baby.
But he could act. Oh my God. Now here's the thing. I had so many feelings with this movie. It really surprised me the amount of humor.
I know, but a lot of Hitchcock movies are like that. You don't think of that in a Hitchcock film, but he has a lot of humor in his film.
And for our audience out there, you may watch this and not even laugh. I have a very dry, sarcastic sense of humor. Yeah. So shit in this movie cracked me up. Just him picking up the little razor.
Yeah, he's looking at it.
And then he shaved with
it does take a while to shave my face, darling.
The comment with the sunglasses, what's with your eyes? Well, they get tired from all the questions. So it's like
constantly questioned.
It's shit like that. It was very, very cool.
One of my favorite scenes is whenever he's in the hospital. Now I'm taking this out of sync, folks.
Yeah, go right ahead.
But he's in the hospital. He's got his pants. He's putting on a new pair of pants, his shirt, and he goes to the door. It's locked. He's like looking around. He's trying to figure out how to get out. So he crawls out on the ledge of the hospital, and he's like skimming against the wall. He goes into the next room. He jumps down, and there's a girl in the room, and she turns on the light, and she says, "Stop!" And then she's a beautiful girl, and then she puts on her glasses, and he's walking by the bed. And she says, "Stop." And he just looks at her and he holds up a little finger like and closes the door, and she's just watching him leave with those big dreamy eyes.
That kind of shit happens. There's a scene where he's in a hurry and they're getting in a taxi cab and they just keep pushing people out of the way. It just keeps happening. It's like, oh my God, it's little shit like that going on in the background. It is so funny. I didn't catch this until I was reading some articles about this, and sure enough, this felt like the very first James Bond movie ever.
It did, didn't it? It really does feel a lot like a James Bond type.
It hits all the James Bond beats. You got the humor, you got the beautiful woman who's double. There's a twist there where she's a double agent, and I knew that was coming, but it was still cool to see it happen.
To see how they did it, how they did the turn.
He was so smitten by her that he didn't even stop to think, why does this beautiful woman saving me? I'm a wanted murderer. And that's what was funny, because I want to talk a little bit about Cary's Robert Thornhill or something.
Yes, I believe that. Thornhill.
He took quite an arc. He's very just kind of a boring guy. He's got a mother. Right. Oh my God. His mother cracks me up. She is constantly beating him down in front of everybody.
The woman, real quick note, the woman that played his mom was only 3 years his senior.
I know. And I noticed
Something?
that. It's like, that cannot be his mother. She is not old enough to be his mother. That should be his wife. And then I realized, no, it's his mother.
But if you're not paying attention, you're like, she worked. She played the part of the
It
mother
does
perfectly for him.
until you see him close up. I was like,
Yeah,
they are too close in
yeah.
age. And I don't think Ava Marie Saint was
Huh,
26 at all. So,
that heart. No, but she did just have a baby. And they waited a month or two.
oh,
Um,
wow.
he got her to go on a diet and start working out so she could fit into her clothes that she wanted to fit into. And he waited. He put everything on hold until she was ready because she was already hired and everything.
She's perfect for it. I
Yeah,
see why she
yeah.
was cast. I didn't know that. I watched a little thing on HBO. They had like a little 3-minute clip with Cary Grant's daughter talking about a letter she'd found that he had written to her, to
Oh,
Ava.
nice.
And it was really cool. They were really good friends, and he
Yeah,
had
that's
talked
nice.
her into the movie and stuff. And because they had good chemistry, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you could tell
That
they
chemistry's
knew each
right.
other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that chemistry's right there, man. The minute they see it. Real quick, that going still on Ava Marie Saint. Um, when they went down for the fittings, all the costumes that she was supposed to wear, the production house, I forgot who did the movie. I can't
It was
remember whether
MGM.
Was it MGM? It was
Yeah,
MGM.
it had the lion
They
at the beginning.
they had all the clothes there for her and all this and all that, and her and Hitchcock walk in, and Hitchcock didn't like any of the clothes, so he took them, threw them all out, gave them away, whatever. Said, "Come with me," and they went down to like I forgot what the name of the clothing store was in Hollywood, and she went through and picked out everything she wanted to wear. So everything in that movie was stuff her and Hitchcock went and bought.
They're
Off the
great
rack,
choices.
have it taken because he hated everything that they came up with. He's like, I don't like any of this. Throw it all away. Come with me, Ava. And they went out and bought all stuff and just
Yeah.
all new clothes. I was like, that's amazing that this guy looked at something and went, this isn't working. This isn't what I asked for. Let's go.
Well, he knew what he wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing is, I'm going to go off on a little not rant, but
Go ahead.
when I look at this movie, I consider this a masterpiece. It's a
Oh,
good fucking movie, and
yes.
as somebody who's a very very amateur filmmaker myself, I do act, but when I do create, I look for inspiration, and so often we forget to take a look back at
Oh, yeah.
what these older movies had done and what they were able to convey. And you get I don't want to sound like a film snob, but this was quality fucking cinema. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, it was
Yeah.
so good. It didn't have anything really, it did have flashy, but I didn't need all of that. It was like, wow, you told a great story. The best way I could describe this is I felt like I was reading a mystery novel, suspense novel, and it's like, turn the page, turn the page, turn
And
the
yeah, I was
page.
going to say, and you couldn't wait to turn the page.
I couldn't wait. It's like,
Right.
it was a
Right.
long movie, but it didn't feel long.
I remember the first time I watched this movie. I'd never seen it. I knew about the plane coming down and that. And that's really all I ever saw. I knew nothing about this movie, and I watched it. And I remember sitting there. It was the wife and I think we were living up in Jersey still, watching this for the first time. I don't think she had ever seen it either. And we were just like, we didn't even talk. It was like Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
We were just glued to the TV, like, oh my God, that's funny. That's good. Look at this. Look at, oh my, the acting is wonderful. The directing, the cinematography. It's just mind blowing. And do you know how they came up with this idea? The writer, Lehman, I want to say his name was Lehman. Hold on. I want to get it up. Ernest Lehman and Hitchcock were friends, and they were supposed to do another movie. This wasn't even supposed to be the movie that they did.
Oh, really?
But the guy couldn't come up with anything, and he goes up to Hitchcock. They're having a meeting, about the movie that they're supposed to do. And he says, "I can't come up with anything, Hitch. I'm sorry. I got nothing for you. I'm the wrong guy for this movie. I'll go away." And Hitchcock's like, "Whoa, where are you going?" He said, "We're, fine. We'll do something else." And the guy's like, "What?" But the studio wants. He's like, don't worry about them. So they're sitting around talking, and Hitchcock goes, "Think about this." He goes, "I've always wanted to do a foot chase scene across Mount Rushmore. That's all he gave the guy.
My God.
That's all he gave the guy.
Are you serious?
And the guy goes, "Wow, that's really cool." He went off, and then he comes back, and they're having another meeting, and Hitchcock came up with another thing, like she pulls her gun out and shoots the guy or something like that, and that's all he leaves the guy with. And the guy's like, "Okay," and leaves and comes back, and like after a little while of talking, they come up with this freaking script.
It's a great script. It is a great script.
But that's like spitballing it minimalistic. And I don't want to like compare us to Hitchcock, God forbid. But it's like whenever you and I are standing there with a camera and we're like, well, what are we gonna do? What do you want to do? What's funny? Well, what do we do this? Okay, we go do something stupid, and we're like, yeah, well, that's kind of funny. Well, how about it instead of doing it that, you go do this other thing? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's silly, but that's kind of, I think, how they work together. Like neither one was afraid of what the other one was going to say.
Right.
So they took it and went, okay, I'm good with that. I can do that.
Yeah, and I could see that given as a writer, if you say, hey, I need a foot chase on Mount Rushmore, I'm going to look at how do I get my characters there? Why are they there? Yeah. Why are they running? And that's just going to start coming.
Who are they running from?
And it just...
Do you have any notes? Did you take any notes? I took a few.
I don't have a lot of notes. This is just an amazing movie.
Yeah, it's one of those where I started I was not taking notes going, this is great. Oh, but I got to write this down because that's a clever line.
The only note I really have, and this is just an observation, because I found myself getting really angry at the beginning. And I want people to realize when you're watching this is done in 1959. They did not have the facial recognition technology or the internet and everything. Because I'm looking, it's like, you know what? I could clear this motherfucker in 10 minutes. I was like, Scott, it's not 2022. It's 1959. And this is doable at this time. So if this was to be updated for modern times, it would be a completely different. It would have so much. It
would have to be a different screw up. It would have to be a different type of screw up.
Because we have technology now that would have he would have been fine right away. So,
but what's funny is when there's a scene where he tells the guys that kidnap him, he's like, "Well, I got all my ID right here," and the one guy's like, Landau's character is like, "Yeah, well, they would make really good fakes, wouldn't they?" Yeah, it's like, fuck, you guys don't even know what this guy looks like. But real quick, for anybody who's just now watching, I'm going to jump in here real fast and just give you Scott and I don't, whenever we talk about movies, this is more of a discussion of a movie we watched. Very rarely do we actually, I wouldn't say really critique them, unless it was the last travesty.
I don't even want to talk about that. I'm so glad we have left the galaxy far, far away for now.
Yeah, for a while. But it's just two guys that watch a good movie or a bad movie and either build it up or tear it down.
Yeah, pretty much.
A movie
just like somebody you would be talking with at work. Kind of like we used to, just bullshit about movies.
Exactly. Yeah. And the movie that we both thought was going to be horrible was a movie called Devil Girl from Mars.
Oh, it's fucking awesome.
I found things that I really enjoyed about it. Like, I could see that being, as much as I hate remakes, I could see that being remade in the same time period that it was made originally and updating it a bit, maybe
I would change the ending.
Better. Yeah, the ending would be definitely changed.
There'd be a line from London to
she would land
to Wales.
It would suddenly become a fucking comedy. Yes. But there's just some movies that we just talked about, and we find good things to say about movies. We find bad things to say about movies. But this is just two guys sitting around that love movies and love good movies and bad movies. And some bad movies we really hate worse than others. But please, when you're sitting there, just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share us, tell people about us. If you have anything to say, because these are our opinions. This is my opinion. This is Scott's opinion. If you have a different opinion, and I don't mean to get into an argument of opinion, just like, hey, I like that movie, but, Cary Grant maybe wasn't the right guy. I can't imagine anybody saying that, because Cary Grant could be in any freaking movie. Anything I've seen him in, I've loved. Yeah. But Ava Marie Saint was an odd choice for this time period because she had done On the Waterfront, very frumpy. She had done, I forgot the name of the other movie, but she had been around for a while. But Hitchcock knew her. and said, "I want you for my femme fatale."
It's perfect.
And that was like, she's like, "But I don't do femme fatale." He goes, "You do now."
You do now, and she did. She was
But
perfect.
that's kind of where Scott and I are at. We just talk
Yeah.
about movies, and if you could like us, you subscribe.
Please.
And I do realize that to give us a thumbs up or to leave a note, you have to join YouTube. Hey, I had to join YouTube just so I could do this. So I'm paying a decent price.
Hit subscribe so we can get more subscribers and possibly one day help pay for our troubles.
Yeah, pay for the aspirin.
At least pay for my subscriptions to all these streaming services.
Yeah, all right.
That would be great.
Reminds me, I owe you some money. Don't let me.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get it 20 years from now. You'll have to give me a big ass check.
Yeah, right. Let me start with one of my little notes here. He was the first, if not the first, one of the very first people to use storyboards for movies. And I think this is one of his first movies that he did it with. I could be wrong. If anybody knows better than me, please let me know. But I think this is the first movie he did because he was on such a limited budget, limited time, that he got the guy to write the script. He started drawing pictures. So when they got to a point where they were going to film, he basically knew where to set the camera. It saved him that much more time. Nobody else was doing it. Now it's pretty standard practice.
Yeah, let me add to that when you talk about camera. The good of this movie, it's well shot, it's well lit, it's got good sound. It just everything is so good. The scenes are good. Yes, we got shitty green screen, but honestly, it looked really fucking good. It was neat. I love the drunk driving scene. Yeah, and just him trying to explain everything drunk is so fucking funny. But
it just sounded like a drunk guy's story.
Yeah, I'll let you go back to your notes, but that reminded me of something I should have written down. The fucking auction scene is so hysterical. He's trying to get thrown out and get arrested and piss people off. It's a fancy art auction, and he's like, $1,100. No, $11. It ain't even worth $13. Why would you pay that?
It's not worth that. How do we know it's real? How do we know that's not fake?
It looked like he had a lot of fun with that.
Well, the girl sitting next to him was laughing, and I'm wondering how much of that was her actual laugh and how much of that was her character laughing.
Yeah, I saw there was a lot of people in the auction house laughing at the time, and some were acting angry, but others were just laughing because it was fucking funny.
That was funny. That was a good scene. Then he finally gets the cops there. Shit, that's funny. Eva Marie Saint, I mean, what can you say? She was beautiful. She played this part perfectly. She's a good actress to begin with.
Absolutely.
Just, you know what? I'm trying to think of anything else that I've seen her in that I never liked her in, but I can't think of anything. Because when she's on the waterfront, I forgot she was in it. I never put two and two together until it was mentioned in the little special that I watched the other night. Oh. And I was like, holy crap, that's Marlon Brando's girlfriend. And if you've ever seen that, have you ever seen the movie?
I have not.
Oh, there you go. That's one we're going to have to watch. But she's just frumpy. Like, you would never have picked this girl to play this part.
Right.
Honestly, you just wouldn't have. It's just amazing. That
unless you, like Alfred Hitchcock, knew her when she's not on a screen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cary, here's a good little bit of info. Cary Grant wasn't legally allowed to walk into the UN with a camera crew. They weren't illegally allowed to film that scene where he's going up the stairs to go into the UN.
Uh-huh.
How they did that was, Cary, you jump into a taxi, pull up to the UN, get out, walk up the stairs. Don't worry, got you covered. Hitchcock and his crew were across the street in, I think they said it was a bread delivery truck with a camera mounted on the side of the truck, like inside the truck, like with a hole.
Oh shit!
Filming him go. So basically, that whole shot
guerrilla
was illegal.
filmmaking, fucking awesome.
He broke the law.
Good. That's ridiculous. He's making a movie. He's making art. I want to. That reminds me of things. I've partaken in a lot of low budget films where we don't have the luxury of getting permit, getting streets, or getting locations.
You do what you got to do.
You do what you got to do to get the shot, and I applaud that. It's always great fun. Yeah. You know, nothing like a little trespassing to get a film scene, but
So you got to do it. Sometimes
Yeah.
you just, folks, as long as you're not hurting anybody, you're not damaging anybody's property.
I'm not advocating breaking the law, but I am advocating making art.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that Lehman guy, Ernest Lehman, was absolutely phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal in his writing on this.
Oh, that's great.
To think that he didn't have 5 other guys helping him write this, it was just basically him, and Hitchcock would come in and throw an idea at him, and he would take it and go with it. Just great. I watched this thing. Martin Landau is one of the actors in this movie, and he plays the bad guy. He's like I guess the guy's
Van Damme.
assassin, his right hand. Yeah, Van Damme, as his right hand man, assassin guy, and he's talking about Hitchcock at one point, and he goes into an Alfred Hitchcock imitation. Martin Landau sounded exactly like Alfred Hitchcock. It was amazing. It's just freaking amazing. And there's a scene in this movie where you realize the character that Landau's playing is gay. And you never really think too much about it, and you kind of pick up on it through his acting, and he's really subtle with it. But at one point, he's talking to the main bad guy, and he says, "Call it my women's intuition."
Yeah.
I have a problem with, there's a problem going on here. And that was his idea. That was his idea, that he went to the writer and said, "Hey, I know this guy is gay, and I think we need to make it not blatant, not."
It was very subtle.
Not anything horrible, that would be against the censors, would get it shut down. But I want to do something. And he goes, "How about this line?" He gave the guy the line. He's like, "Do it. Yes, that's perfect. Do it. That's something this character would say." So they let him do it. They let him have his shot.
Let's talk about that, because that did come off. It was perfect, because Van Damme saw him as, "Oh, you're just jealous. You're, and then
that whole conversation is what lets you know what's going on.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, call it my women's intuition, if you will."
Yeah.
I said that was an odd choice, but I still never put it together. I never
really, you never put that together?
No.
Oh wow,
no, it's because it's just
but
like,
you know what? If you go back and watch it now.
Oh, now I will. And I'm already replaying scenes with him. It's like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah, because the first time I saw it, until he says that line, I was like, wait, what? And then Van Damme's like, "You're just jealous." I was like, oh my God, I didn't catch any of that. Yeah. But then when you go back and watch the movie a second time, you're like, holy crap, how did the censors back then, in the 58 is when it was filmed, 59 is when it was released. Back then, the censors would have come down hard on that had they been smart enough to catch it.
Well, see, they did.
Thank God for Lehman being such a good writer, and thank God for Hitchcock being such a good director, not letting him catch on.
I think
the audience caught on.
It went under the radar so easily because the acting was so top notch, and you're just not you're not paying attention to that. It's like not looking for it.
And kudos to Landau. For going, "Hey, I know what this character's supposed to be. Let's make it a little bit more obvious. This is what I think he would do." And I think that was a good call. I think it was a really good call for him. I'll go down again. Here's another little piece of trivia. They're at Mount Rushmore in the cafeteria.
Right.
She pulls out the gun. It's right before she pulls out the gun. You look behind her, there's a little boy starting to plug his ears.
Oh, shit. I'm going to go pull that scene up.
She shoots him. They use that scene, and the little kid's plugging his ears before she even pulls out the gun. And she talks about this in one of the little specials that I watched. And she's like, "We must have shot this thing like several times because the kid knew what was coming." He's plugging his ears. And she goes, "Well, I don't know why they use that scene where the kid plugs his ears.
Everything else works, and they just screw it."
But, until it was pointed out to me, I never noticed that.
I never saw it.
I never saw it. It just, you're not looking for it. But that's a good scene. Oh, my God. All the matte paintings.
There's a lot, and it's done so well.
That big painting of Mount Rushmore, I forgot how tall she said it. It was like 30 or 40 feet tall, and God only knows how wide it was. But they needed it that big, so when they were running and tracking, it all looked like it was right there. That was such a great painting.
Can you imagine doing that now with the AR technology that they use on Star Wars and Star Trek
Oh
and
yeah,
everything with
yeah.
the giant curved screens where it actually puts the actors right there? It's
That's
just,
crazy. That's
it's amazing.
absolutely insane. The house where Cary Grant is walking up to the house,
That's a beautiful house.
that's a matte painting.
The whole house is not a real house. It looks just like a Frank
I
Lloyd
don't know if
Wright.
it was a real house, but for whatever
Oh
reason,
yeah,
they
that
had to
scene
do
there is definitely a
that.
painting, but
He had to do a matte painting running up to the house, Gumming, when the I think when he's looking up at the window and the window curtain
yeah,
opens and then the cut shuts, that's a matte painting. They cut that
yeah,
that hole in for the curtains. There when he's running out of the house after the gunshots, that's
yeah.
all a matte painting. He's
It's
turning
very,
on. I was
very
like,
well
holy,
done. It just
that
blows
is
my mind.
something. Had I not seen it or heard about it, I would have never known it. I would have never recognized it. I would have thought they just used a lens for a daytime lens because that's what it looked like to me. Like
Yeah,
they were shooting the nighttime, with one of those darkened lenses. That's
yeah.
what I thought they did. And then I found out that was all matte paintings. I was like, holy
They
crap!
did a good job. And the only other time I've seen such massive matte paintings was in White Zombie.
You know who else has really huge and well done matte paintings is Brigadoon.
Yeah, another one I
Brigadoon
haven't
has
seen.
all of the Irish countryside.
Oh,
It's
wow.
it's absolutely fantastic. Those matte
Very
paintings are
cool.
great.
Very cool.
Um, if you were a successful businessman, if you were part of the whole, I'm going to be the what did he do? He did
He was
commercials,
in
right?
advertising.
Advertising.
Yeah.
You would want what was her name? You would want
Oh, his
Maggie.
secretary was great.
You would want Maggie as your secretary. Maggie, his secretary, literally comes down the elevator with him, taking notes while he's dictating to her about his mother. Get mother this, get mother that, and she's taking it and taking notes. She walks out into the city street, bustling shoulder to shoulder. She's following him. He's still dictating what he needs her to do and what he needs to do because he's going on some stupid lunch meet and greet that he doesn't really
One
want to
he
do.
shouldn't have went to.
Yeah, she's taking notes and taking notes. The he jumps. He pushes the guy out of the way. That's one of the times for the
Yeah. And he's like, I made him feel like because he said,
yeah.
oh, all right,
Feel
a
like a
sick woman here or whatever.
good citizen.
Yeah.
But she gets into the taxi with him. They're driving. God only knows how many blocks or how many miles in New York. He's talking. She's still taking notes and she's asking questions. She's basically fixing some of the stuff that he's telling her because
Yeah.
no, you did that last week. No, you can't do that because there was the same note that you wrote, before. And then he gets to where he's going and he gives the guy the money. He says, okay, now take her back to where you found her, And she's not upset. She's not flustered. She's used to her boss. And he obviously is a really good boss because she's doing all of this. I mean, she's without a complaint one. That's what I want. If I was a big successful business guy, I would want somebody like Maggie to just follow me around and do. Maggie, am I stupid? Yes, you're stupid, but keep going, boss. We got you covered.
Yeah. That one of the things that just I thought was really cool was Cary Grant's character arc in this.
Yeah.
He starts off with just kind of just your average Joe, and that's where I was going earlier with his mom
Right.
berating him. He's really a nobody. He's got 2 ex-wives and everything.
Yeah.
But by the time we get to the end of the movie, he is completely different. He is a hero. He is he's probably working for the CIA now after that because he did them such a solid on getting Van Damme set up. So
one of the best lines is whenever she's hanging from the freaking Mount Rushmore and he's like trying to bring her up. She's like, well, what did your ex-wives leave you for? He goes, oh, I was too boring. They thought it was too boring.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. His mother, when they're in the hotel, his mother takes a bribe from him because he's trying to get his mother to go get the key. She's like, I'm not going to do that. $10. I'm not going to take a bribe. $15. Okay. She takes some money and walks over.
His mother was an interesting character, and oh my God, she was horrible to him, and it was so funny.
Oh, God, that was funny. And it
But
didn't cut.
you needed that. You needed to see that this guy really didn't have his shit together. If it
Yeah,
wasn't
he
for
did.
his secretary, he wouldn't have
Oh,
had any of his shit
oh
together.
no, that's what I was saying. Like, if you have a secretary, that's the kind of secretary you want. Somebody who's
Yeah.
going to make sure you do not flub up because her career is on the line too. uh, George Caspian? Was it Caspian or Capian? The guy that he was supposed to be.
Oh hell, I can't.
I want to say Capian or something like that. Um, is the MacGuffin in this movie? It's what everybody's looking for,
Yep.
but nobody
But he doesn't
realizes that's
exist.
what they're looking for. And the first time it dawned on me was last night. I was like, oh my God, that's the MacGuffin, which is a Hitchcock terminology for what the characters all want in a movie or in a
Yeah.
story. Um,
Yeah. That. I've always been confused by that. I've heard that a lot. I know people reference Pulp Fiction with the glowing briefcase. You never see what's in it, but
right,
everybody's
that's the
after that.
MacGuffin, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
was the MacGuffin. It's not important. What the thing isn't important. It's the getting to it or the getting of it is the
yeah.
important thing. That's how Hitchcock always talks about it. Like any interviews that I read about him, and when it's brought up, and his son-in-law talks about the MacGuffin. And I can't remember the son-in-law's name, but he's a French director. Learned a lot from the old man. Uh, the really good camera work was that pan shot of the phone booths in the I think they were at the airport where she's
Yeah.
taking notes and writing the notes down, Eva Marie Saint's character, and you see Landau in the one phone booth and then it pans down all the way to the end and she's sitting in the other
Yes.
phone booth and she's taking notes. I thought that was kind of cool. It was a nice scene. Um, what did you think? Oh, and I don't want to tell you what I think. What did you think of the scene at the Crossroads when he's dropped off on the bus at the Crossroads?
I thought it was a really cool scene.
Do you think that anybody would have the balls to pull that scene off today?
What, bringing the airplane in and all of
Not the
that, or are you just
airplane,
talking just the Crossroads?
the build up to the airplane. There was at least 3.5, 4 minutes of silence in that movie scene
You know what?
before he starts talking to the guy across the street.
And let me talk about that. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
there was a lot of silence. The music stopped. It was
Yep.
quiet.
Everything stopped.
It makes you feel like you are there. You're in a desolate area. You're not hearing anything, and you're waiting for something to happen. This is one of the things I'm going to applaud Hitchcock on. I'm looking at something. Nothing's happening, but I know it's supposed to be, and we're waiting. So we're waiting. We're waiting with Cary Grant's character. We are him at that point. We're standing at that crossroads as the car's coming, and I'm thinking, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? You know? And it's like, he still doesn't know he's been set up.
No,
So,
no.
and it's
it's the sense of not knowing, and then the cars coming down the road, and you get a little bit of tension. The one cars they're driving by one way, one car's driving by the other, and then the guy's standing across the street from him for a minute, just looking at him. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit, something's gonna happen with this."
I thought
guy.
he was an assassin.
Yeah,
honestly, I thought that guy came up. It's like, oh fuck, I was getting all nervous.
And again, folks, we spoil the hell out of movies, so if you haven't seen it, oops,
too late.
But
go watch it anyway. It's great.
That whole scene shouldn't have worked. I mean, even in the day, that shouldn't have worked. Nobody wants to have that much silence on film.
No,
because all Cary Grant's doing is standing there with his hands in his pockets, looking around like.
The camera work and the actors.
Everything,
all the pieces involved in that make it a suspenseful scene. And so we can sit here and say there's nothing going on, but in actuality, there is a shitload of moving parts to make that scene work. So there's a lot.
Everything is going on in the head. Everything. Because it's just such a.
And you see it on his face, and that's why I don't. You pull something like that, you need an actor like Cary Grant, and that's
the great scene is right before the guy gets on the bus. The guy that's across the street talking to Cary Grant, as he looks over at the plane that's way off in the distance. He goes, "Oh, that's funny." And Cary Grant's like, "What? There's no fields in that. There's nothing growing in that field that he's crop dusting." And then the guy gets on the plane and takes off. And Cary Grant watches the bus drive away, and then he turns around and he's looking at the plane, and he's like, you can see it slowly dawning on him. Like,
Oh shit.
something is wrong. Something is wrong with that plane. And then the plane kind of banks to start coming towards him. And that's when you even before it's really, really close to him, he realizes, oh, fuck.
That's a great scene. It's intense. It's stressful. I can't praise this movie enough in that aspect. It's a great film.
That's absolutely mind-boggling how well that scene is done and how quiet it is. And then just when it finally the music starts going, the music score alone is fantastic. The music score, everything works, and everything gets you pumping and worrying, and the thrill for this to be a modern thriller was just like boom, 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 boom. The heart, like almost like a heartbeat at some points where you're going faster and faster and faster. Thought that was really good. When he gets picked up by the cops after the auction, he's like, "I'm a dangerous assassin, a murderer. I'm a murderer on the loose." And the one cop looks at him. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
I love the fact, I said it once, I'll say it again. Him breaking out of the hospital and that girl's like, "Stop."
Yeah.
Oh, stop.
When go back to the cops. On. The cops just, let me go back to that just a second when they pick him up from the auction house and he thinks he's home free. And the policeman driving takes a phone call. Yeah. And for a brief moment there, I thought it might not have been the CIA, that it might have been Van Damme. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
So like, that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, you're like, oh, shit. He's not out of the woods yet.
Yeah.
And then that old guy comes walking in with the glasses. He's like, oh, come with me.
Yeah.
The great thing is when everything is being explained to Cary Grant while they're walking across the tarmac, because in the old days,
you can't hear it.
And even today, you can still walk out to a tarmac, not very often. He's explaining everything, and you can't hear it over the roar of the engines. All you see are the expressions of the two men and Cary Grant like being perplexed, like why am I even involved in this? Screw, I'm out of here, I'm gone, kind of thing. And I think that's what you basically hear. Is like, I'm going home. I'm not having anything to do with this. And that's like the ass end of the conversation as the engine starts dying down.
That's the beauty of the way this was written and shot is we know everything they talked about, even though I didn't hear a fucking word.
Right.
And that was great because all that's set up because by this time in the movie, you know everything that his character is going through. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling that. It's like, oh, geez,
And that was a good moment of nowadays, if somebody were to write that scene, they would be reiterating everything you already know. It would be verbal diarrhea. But because the engines of the plane are going high and you can't hear anything you're saying, you know what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
It's making you think about the movie, what you've already watched.
I thought it was very smart.
But you don't hear it. And it's such a good, simple, yet complex way of doing it.
Yeah.
It's just the movie. Folks, I cannot praise this movie enough. Yeah. I really can't. It's a great movie. It's absolutely fantastic.
It is. It's almost as good as Night of a Thousand Cats.
Extreme opposite of A Night of a Thousand Cats. Extreme
opposite. We couldn't hardly make it through the credits.
The chase scene on that damn, when you think maybe Landau's character is going to reach over and grab him by the hand and pull him up, that would have been too easy. That would have been like, no way would that character do that. But when he starts stepping on his hand, you're like, oh.
But I thought that was a great.
Such a prick.
You and I sitting at home are like, no, you can't trust that guy.
Right.
But you look at Cary Grant's character, and it shows you that he's still hoping there's some good in this guy.
Yeah.
He's a very optimistic, a very hope. Like I said, this character goes from, I won't say unlikable. He's not unlikable at any point in this movie.
Oh, Cary Grant's character? No, he's a likable guy.
He's a likable guy, but he becomes even more so, and he grows. Yeah. He has this man has such growth in this movie. It's just really cool to see, and it's holy fuck! Why did I wait so long to watch it?
And this is one of those movies that now you see this type of trope. Nowadays you see the person who's been thrown in with a super secret identity, you know, by mistake, and he's being mistaken for the other man or the other woman, and then, you know, people are dying, and this is going on.
It's a great setup. I can see why so many movies are done. Yeah.
This is the first movie that I know of that used this setup, you know, and the way that they did it was brilliant. The guy, he's literally, Cary Grant is sitting at the desk with these guys saying, "Hey, I got to call my mom. You know, I got to get a," and he hears in the distance some page boy calling for Mr. Caspian or Capian or whatever the guy's character's name is.
Kaplan or something, yeah.
And he turns around, he's like, "Hey, boy," and that's how everybody thinks he's Kaplan. Kaplan, you're right, it is Kaplan. Yeah. Everybody thinks he's Kaplan because he just happens to have to make a phone call. The page happens to be close by. He hasn't heard what the guy said. Everybody that's looking for Kaplan just sees him raise his hand and call the kid over like, "Hey, come over here." And that's it. That's Kaplan. That must be him. And they get him.
Yeah, this to me, such a James Bond feel before James Bond.
Yeah, you're right. I never would have thought about that, but yeah.
I saw somebody had written that and I was like, holy fuck, this is a Bond film. It sure as shit is. It really is. It's a spy thriller. It's really fucking... I'm going to give my final thoughts on it real quick.
Yes, absolutely.
I absolutely adore this movie. I can't believe I waited so long to see it. I highly recommend it. It is in my top 10 for sure. I'm finding my top 10 is filling with movies that are 70 years old and more because they're so good and they're timeless. So I highly recommend it. I can't praise it enough. It's a great fucking movie.
I'm glad you recommended this movie because I think I have this on a list of papers of notes that I was taking for movies to recommend later. But yeah, I absolutely concur 110%. This is a great movie. It is a classic movie. It's Hitchcock. You cannot go wrong with Hitchcock. You just can't.
So
that's what
we will do more Hitchcock in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you're on. You know a Hitchcock movie I never saw?
What's that?
I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through. Psycho.
It's been a long time. I was talking to Janine last night that we need to watch Psycho because I love that one. That's a good one.
Very cool.
So
and it's black and white. The Psycho happened right after this. He went from this colored, big budget to Psycho.
Wow.
That guy. The guy is just phenomenal.
More of Mother.
More of Mother. Mother doesn't like you. Yeah, this is a great movie. It's Hitchcock. I highly recommend straight across the board.
Fuck yeah.
And if you want to see somebody make fun of Hitchcock films in a very loving way, High Anxiety by Mel Brooks.
Yes.
Absolutely recommend
God, I haven't seen that in forever. I forgot about that. Oh my God.
It's got every Hitchcock trope in it that you could possibly want.
Mel Brooks was a genius.
Yeah.
Or he is, I should say.
He is.
Yes.
Still, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But that's what I got. And
all right.
Thanks for joining us, folks. It's good. It's good.
So as Dave says, hit a like, hit a subscribe, share, tell your friends, tell Mother check us out. So we have something coming for you next week. Not sure what it is, so be sure and tune in.
Might be schlock, might be good. Not sure yet.
Might be in between. Might be new, might be old. Who knows?
Not sure.
So until next time, catch you later.
Cheers, folks.